First Lady of the State of Israel and Mrs. Janet Huckabee and Mrs. Miriam Edelson. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce the President of the State of Israel and the Ambassador of the United States of America to the State of Israel.
Please. Your Excellency, Ambassador Mike Huckabee, our dear friend, Shalom. It is an enormous pleasure and honor for Michal and me to welcome you and your dear wife, Janet, to the President's residence in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of Israel and the Jewish people. Before we start, I want to use this podium to share my deepest condolences with the Christian world, the Catholic world, and with the Christian communities here in Israel, the Holy Land, and Catholics in the United States for their great loss on the passing of His Holiness Pope Francis. You and I are both people of faith, and I know we share the deepest hope that his memory inspire acts of kindness and unity, dialogue between peoples, and hope for humanity. We are joined here today by some very good friends of yours. First and foremost, our dear friend, Dr. Miriam Edelson, who together with her beloved Sheldon of blessed memory, and in her own right, has been a great champion of this friendship between the United States and Israel. And I want to thank you, Miriam, for your enormous contribution to the fight for our hostages, which, as we know all well, is ongoing. You know, usually when a new ambassador arrives, I say to him or her, "Welcome to Israel." To you, Mike, I say, "Welcome home, Mike, dear brother of Israel." You have been to Israel so many times. Like Abraham, our forefather, you have heeded the command to walk the land from top to bottom, and you have introduced countless others to its physical and spiritual beauty. This time your homecoming is different. This time you are coming as the official ambassador of our most important ally and friend, the United States of America. This is such a natural movement. For years, and especially since October 7th, you've been a leading voice of moral clarity and conscience. The prophet Isaiah's words, "For Zion's sake I will not keep silent, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not remain quiet," come naturally to mind. Your appointment as ambassador by President Trump to this critical post is a shining reflection of the President's love, friendship, and support for the State of Israel. We are deeply grateful for the historic steps he has taken to strengthen the ironclad U.S.-Israel alliance and for his vocal solidarity and commitment as we fight to defend our people and to bring each and every single one of our hostages back home. I know you, Mike, share both our heartbreak and our absolute resolve to see every last hostage freed from the Hamas dungeons and returned to their loved ones immediately, every last one. I thank you for for this allegiance of heart, and no less for your commitment to action. Nothing is more urgent, and nothing warrants our attention more than ending this despicable and ongoing crime against humanity, against every legal and ethical norm, against God himself. Ambassador Huckabee, our dear friend Mike, you begin your new role at a decisive moment in the history of this region. On the one hand, the Abraham Accords, brokered by President Trump, have demonstrated the power of warm peace. They have shown what happens when nations turn their swords into plowshares, their conflict into cooperation, their distrust into dialogue. We can deepen this path. The psalmist King David wrote, "Seek peace and pursue it." We believe that these words of faith and peace are not only a dream, but a demand upon us that we vow to realize. But to expand peace, we must also soberly recognize the threats to peace. The Ayatollah regime in Iran continues to pursue its radical vision of regional dominance and destabilization on its own and via its proxies, whilst pursuing nuclear arms and openly calling for the destruction of Israel. History has taught us that when a radical regime declares death to Israel and death to America, we must take these threats seriously and counter them with all our determination, resolve, and might for the sake of the safety of our people, for the sake of peace. Mr. Ambassador, on Friday, our nation was so moved to see you add your prayer to the prayers of so many over centuries at the Kotel, the Wailing Wall. And nothing could be more fitting than your service as ambassador in this sacred city, now the home of the U.S. Embassy following President Trump's historic decision. I look forward to personally working closely together with you to take the U.S.-Israel alliance to new heights. Friends, I want to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Stephanie Hallett, Chargé d'Affaires ad interim and Deputy Chief of Mission, for representing the United States of America so well and for doing a great job for the last few years. Toda. So once again, Mike and Janet, Michal and I, and the entire nation of Israel welcome you warmly to the land you love so dearly. May your term here offer you every opportunity to explore the length and breadth of this country and its beautiful tapestry of people, to add new layers to your deep and vital connection to it, and to witness the realization of the prophecies which we have learned so much about. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Israel. Shalom. Thank you, and Bruchim Habaim.
Mr. President and distinguished guests, to all of you, what an honor and an incredible joy it is for me to stand here in this place and to receive the welcome of the President. I want to thank my wife for being here with me today and being faithful as a wife for soon to be 51 years of marriage. As I often tell people, I know that you look at us and you say, "You don't look that old." Well, maybe you do think that. So I tell people we got married when we were about 12. And in our home state of Arkansas, that makes us late bloomers. So, Mr. President, it was 52 years ago this summer that I made my first trip to this magnificent place. I fell in love with Israel as a 17-year-old wild-eyed boy, amazed that I was actually standing in the land of the Bible. It overwhelmed me. Now I come back as a wild-eyed old man, but still with a sense of absolute joy, and an overwhelming sense of awe that I'm in a land that God himself said, "This is mine, and these are my people." I come to stand today with the state of Israel and with the Jewish people because I believe that it is not simply a geopolitical position, but a divine position. And over the 52 years that I've been coming to Israel countless times and bringing tens of thousands of people to see this magnificent land, I love to see it myself, but I love to see it through the eyes of people who are here for the first time. And I watch the emotion. I see the tears that flow because they're walking land that they have read about, that they have prayed for, that they have thought about and never imagined they would be here. I stand here today fighting back tears because I am here, not just as a visitor, but now for the next few years, unless the president tweets something early in the morning and tells me to come home, this will be my home for the next 4 years. And Janet and I come with an extraordinary sense of awe and wonder and deep gratitude to President Trump for giving us this extraordinary privilege. I'm grateful that you acknowledged Stephanie Hallett, who has done such a superb job as the chargé. And she's gone through 3 ambassadors, a war, and she probably, now dealing with me, will say, that's all I can take. But she's done a remarkable service to the United States of America in her capacity, and we're deeply grateful. To Miriam Adelson, who is a very dear, close friend, who probably whispered in the president's ear and said, if you can't find anybody else to do this, you could always ask him. I never talked to him about it. I never had a conversation with him. I got a call out of the clear blue just a few days after the election. If you know President Trump, he did not say, would you think about going? Have you ever considered? He simply called and said, Mike, you're going to be my ambassador to Israel. Just as simple as that. You don't say no to him. And quite frankly, I felt it was not so much saying yes to a president. It was certainly that. But it was yes to a calling from God himself to come and fulfill what I believe is not just a job, but a mission. And that mission is to stand with the people of Israel for peace and prosperity, to serve in a role that I pray will lead to times when the Israeli people can go to bed at night not fearing that a siren will waken them and force them into a shelter because enemies are irrationally dedicated to destroy them. I long for the day when that young Israeli mother puts her babies to bed at night and does not fear that some harm will come upon them as they sleep, that they will rest with peace, and they will continue to live with the extraordinary resilience of the Israeli people, which I've come to admire as second to none. Over these coming months, I pray that one thing we will see, and see it very soon, as you so eloquently said, Mr. President, that every hostage returns home to their family. Every hostage. Those who are alive and those deceased, but whose remains are a reminder of the dignity that they deserve to have a proper burial here in their home. There are challenges, and I share with you that concern that the Iranian regime and all of its hostility that has been inflicted upon the world for 46 years continues to threaten not just the peace of Israel, but the peace of the United States. And I constantly remind people that the Iranians have always said, death to Israel, and chapter 2 is death to America. It has always been their desire that Israel would be the opening act, and then it would be America's turn to face destruction. Or to put it in another simple way, Israel is the appetizer, and the United States is the entree. We care deeply, Mr. President, the threats that face Israel, because those are also the threats that face our country. When I was at the White House just a little over a week ago, the President handed me a handwritten note with a prayer for the peace of Jerusalem. My first official act upon arriving here was to take that prayer from the President and to go to the hotel and to place it there on behalf of the American people with a reminder that we stand with you, Mr. President. We stand with the people of Israel. And I always want to remind my American colleagues that we stand with Israel, first of all, because we share the values of the Bible. We share the understanding that the Judeo-Christian foundation is the foundation of all of Western civilization. Without it, there is no sense of democracy and love, appreciation, and respect for the individual. But it's also important that Americans know that while we hope to be a good friend to Israel and to provide assistance where we can, I never want Americans to think that we, Americans, are not greatly benefited by our partnership with our ally Israel. We benefit dramatically in the sharing of intelligence, in the sharing of technology, and in the sharing of agricultural innovation, which Israel has led the world in creating. So as we begin our service here, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your kindness, your hospitality. When I walked in and the national anthem of the United States was played, I must tell you, it was deeply emotional for me to hear that song in this land and to be reminded of the incredible bond that exists between Israel and the United States. On behalf of the President and the American people, I thank you for your hospitality, and I welcome the opportunity to serve my President, my country, in partnership with you toward a peace that you truly and most deservedly should have. Thank you, Mr. President.
I now invite Ambassador Huckabee and Mrs. Huckabee to sign the official guest book of the presidency, accompanied by President Herzog and First Lady Michal Herzog.